Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome, welcome.
Yay.
Come one, come all.
Everybody, we're here.
Join the merriment. Cook up some popcorn.
Let's do this. Let's go.
Let's get ready, and we'll watch what unfolds in the unfolding of the Great Apocalypse.
It is an unfolding, and it is a great apocalypse. So all of these things we are correct about, and we would like for you to join us in the unfolding.
And again, so much as far as terms are misunderstood from their, true meaning. And again, apocalypse doesn't exactly mean end of the world. It means unveiling. Uh-oh. We could say, the emperor has no clothes.
Yeah, we could.
We could say, the cabal, they're caught with their drawers down.
Yikes. Ew.
We're getting to see the whole nasty business.
Ooh.
Not to turn any stomachs. I hope it's not too close to dinner time out there, guys.
TMI, too many visuals.
But it means that basically all is going to be revealed.
I think that's really important to just sit and think about that for a minute when you see the word apocalyptic. Haven't they kind of groomed us to believe that it means total devastation?
Exactly. And again, this is one of those questions, and I just want to make sure everything's okay, that we keep bringing up. When is a prophecy all about becoming self-fulfilling? As we know, this whole reality, it conforms to the observer. This is what we've learned from quantum physics in the last 100 plus years now. We're not necessarily living inside a big mechanism like we were brought up thinking Newtonian philosophy viewpoint on the world. It actually conforms to the one watching and observing and participating. Now, the guides, what we got recently from the guides is that the controllers have everything in place, and they're just kind of, they're doing their rituals. They have their dark magic cooking, and they're trying to create a fupa.
Yeah.
A whoopsie.
A big one, too.
Yes. Just like we talked about World War I, the driver of, the Archduke, he took the wrong turn. And then what happens? There's a shot ringing out. And all of a sudden, war is starting. It's those little things that could lead to such a avalanche of events that completely change history or set it off in a particular course. So we have a general, and this was a UK general who warned about accidental WAR with Russia. Well, he got replaced. Perhaps, maybe it has something to do because that's exactly part of the PLAN.
Mm-hmm.
Is another whoopsie, another fupa. Oops, this isn't where I parked my car.
We're so sorry.
Yes, exactly. As we have Vladimir Putin taking a break from wrestling bears naked in the snow in Siberia.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Just to warn the West that Moscow has a red line about the Ukraine and NATO. And, there's so much going on right now over on the other side, too. The other day we had 27 planes from the PLA, CC, let's say PCC.
Yeah, let's do that.
As we'll try to keep it cleaner there. Intrude in Taiwan's airspace yet again. He just wants the West to know you're going too far when you're starting to put weapons in Ukraine that are of NATO origin. And that's a red line. And he said it would trigger a strong response. What would that response be? Well, everybody was waiting, people that got word that he was going to make a big statement today. And here we have the Kremlin warned it could blow up 32 GPS satellites with its new anti-satellite technology, ASAT. Well, that's inventive, isn't it? ASAT, anti-satellite. which it tested November 15th on a retired Soviet satellite, according to numerous reports, which obviously got a lot of people worried because you have all this, material now that's just all over the place up there. So Russia then claimed on state television that its new ASAT missiles could obliterate NATO satellites and blind all their missiles, planes, and ships, not to mention the ground forces, said Russian Channel 1 TV host Dmitry Kiselyov, rendering the West's GPS-guided missiles useless. It means that if NATO crosses our red line, it risks losing all 32 of its GPS satellites at once. Oh, that sounds pretty ominous, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah, so let's really think about that. And, of course, I think a lot of people that have looked into what could possibly happen have thought about EMPs, and of course, maybe some actually have Faraday cages for some of their sensitive devices. But think about that. No satellite operation at all, just operating blind. Now we see Space Force generals saying China and Russia are attacking U.S. space assets every day. Every day. And it gets into what happened again with that technology and blowing up a satellite. So, of course, we have a new arms race in space. And we have over here, we see NATO shipping weaponry to Russian border. Isn't that kind of like what the red line thing is all about there? Looks like, I'm hearing that music from those Clint Eastwood westerns, that I can't do it, but that little whistling sound.
Oh, I love those whistling sounds. I'm going to spare you guys, but you guys know.
Yeah.
Like
that.
But better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you could see Putin and 46, going to square off against each other. And then 46 looks down and realizes he doesn't have his depends on.
Oh, no. And Putin says, "Punk, make my day." Like that.
So Putin goes and wrestles a bear instead.
Yeah.
But yes, most definitely alarming quantities of weapons are being shuttled by NATO towards the border with Russia. And, there's reports out, we had been talking about 90,000 Russian troops within, a short march of the border, so to speak. And now I saw that was up to like 125,000, what they were saying. So here you see significant units and armaments from NATO countries, including America and British, are being moved closer to our borders. He said that in neighboring Ukraine, more and more forces and equipment are being accumulated on the line of contact in the Donbas, supported by an increasing number of Western instructors. According to the veteran diplomat, the nations also encouraged officials in Kiev to take anti-Russian actions, which he said can easily turn into military adventures. Lavrov also warned that if the West cannot hold back Ukraine and actually encourages it, of course we will take all necessary steps to ensure our security. So, this is escalating most definitely big time. As you see, the Pentagon plans to improve airfields in Guam and also in Australia to confront China. And we have Belarus actually perhaps inviting Russian NUKEs back into the country, as their leader has said, they should. The leader actually was on record as stating, again, basically, you could tell, Belarus is right there. And they've said that they're going to, if anything happens, they'll be right there with Russia at the Ukraine front. Boy, I don't want to hear that, though. I was thinking of World War II and at the front, and this is not good. It's not good, but yet apparently it's getting to the point where it's getting to be closer to inevitable, unless again we could wake up those that would actually be doing the fighting on all the sides to get them to lay down their weapons.
Well, the really good news is that a lot of them threatened to just walk if they had to submit to a certain thing. They refused to do it. So I find that to be very, very good news. It is a clue that, yeah, on some level there is some evolution happening there.
Yes, and that is ultimately what's going to happen. That's what we've gotten from the guides, is that right now, and we've shared that they actually have like a timeline generator that they're watching. We are getting much closer to watching the hostilities actually break out. It's looking more and more likely the way things are going on right now. But what they've also seen is that at some point, people recognize that everything here is completely manufactured. Artificial flavoring is a term we use when we see things like up in the sky there that shouldn't be there. You know, the CHEM trails as opposed to the CON trails that we were told for years they're just CON.
Yeah, there's
trail.
a
That's
big
all
difference.
that there is. It's just about atmospheric conditions.
Nothing to see here, kids.
You know, the wind is a certain direction, and the temperature is a certain direction, and then Santa goes by and he sprinkles magic dust on it.
Yeah, and it's just magic dust.
That's it. Yeah, sure. You know, we're waking up. This is great, but the guides also said that at some point, everyone will realize that, or at least enough will realize that this was completely manufactured, and we will. This is how things really crumble, is when they do literally throw away their weapons and say, screw this. We understand what you're doing. Divide and conquer. Keep us fighting ourselves. That's how they stay in power. So Russia will soon have a new hypersonic missile with a maximum speed of Mach 9, which is around 6,700 miles per hour. So says Putin. And China is supposedly ahead of Russia in the development of these weapons. And what's fascinating, too, is looking at like the military authorities saying, we have no idea how they got so far ahead of us. Mm-hmm. Now, people will say, and granted, it's true that, there probably is. I mean, Cindy and I have seen some insane technology out there. We've seen a fighter jet basically come down alongside of us, flying about 6 feet off the ground, about, 50, 60 feet away from us as we were going down Highway 75 in Nevada, and it was silent. Mm-hmm. It was using technology that was like anti-gravity. It wasn't making a sound. And then it just kind of disappeared.
Into the mountain. That was crazy.
It disappeared into a mountain. It was just bizarre. We didn't see it like go up or side to side or anything. It just disappeared.
It went straight forward and it was gone. It was so incredible. That probably besides that it just disappeared, it was the silence that really, really spoke loudly.
Yeah, absolutely. So the technology is out there, but does that mean that they're going to use it? Because again, if you have a war that's going on, and really, if you get down to it, ultimately, the two hands that are moving the chess pieces on the chess, game are belonging to the same mindset, mm-hmm. the same beings, the same controllers. Then they might not use all the cards because it might be that it is part of the plan. It is, it is most definitely part of the bigger picture is this shift. So, it's just like fighters, that get paid to, oh, my God, he knocked me out. But really, you go and you look, the blow never even landed. Or that whole Trojan horse scenario. When everybody's not looking, they just open up the gates and, oh, how'd that happen? China's mysterious hypersonic weapon can stay in orbit, according to Space Force General. Yeah, the ability to keep a NUKE-armed hypersonic glide vehicle in orbit for a prolonged period of time makes for a far more unpredictable threat. And this is like what we're talking about. And this is from the Drive, the War Zone. Yeah, well, how do we not know it's already up there? Or there are several up there right now. We don't, and so this is Space Force saying, again, they're way ahead of us. Out of the blue, they're way ahead of us. How did that happen? Well, because it's part of the plan. It's just that simple.
It is. It's really unfortunate. But here we are. We got to face it. We have to look at it and understand it so that we can deal with it.
And we have to redefine us. That's part of this whole thing. Because the innocent people that don't want any sort of conflict in Russia, in China, in North Korea, in Iran, we could go on in Cuba, in Venezuela. We could keep adding on to the list of nations that will probably be on one particular side. And then on the other side, the NATO nations. The average person doesn't want this. And when you see in the discretionary budget, half or better of your taxes is going to destruction. Hello. So, what we end up working until May something to just pay for all the destruction in the world? There's something seriously wrong with the system. That's getting people to realize that. South Korea rejects the claim that it's helping Taiwan with indigenous defense submarine program. And so it's really clear. The sides are, getting to be very, very clear. I'd say one of the interesting cast of characters is Turkey to watch, because they are most definitely a wild card. Although I feel that they'll start out for sure over on the Russian and Chinese side, but then they might branch off and do their own thing. Who knows? So we see U.S. steals most of Australia's sale to China amid the trade row. So says a study. Because, obviously, this is all about the coming conflict, which is rapidly approaching. And again, we need to, shed our light. Our dear sister Jan up in Massachusetts. Hey, Jan. Much love. She was saying, see the entire planet enveloped in that beautiful violet flame to raise the consciousness higher. And and as she was saying, again, as we've said too, call on the higher powers, whichever ones you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with, say any of the Hindu deities or Native American or any other traditions, and you're only comfortable with Yeshua, then just call on Yeshua. Yep. If you feel comfortable with the archangels, call on the archangels. If you're comfortable with Mary Magdalene or Mother Mary, call on them. Or if you are comfortable with Kuan Yin or Aset, Isis, or just so many of these beautiful benevolent beings like Lakshmi and all, then ask them for help as well. Krishna. It's whatever you're comfortable with, because their ego is not going to get in the way. It's the human ego that has problems.
Yeah, they're beyond that. Where they're at, they are beyond the ego. What they want to do is help. That's where their ego stops at. Well, what can I do to help? And that's how they do that.
So as we were alluding to in the previous video, world's first living robots that we know of can now reproduce. Whoa! Yes, Xenobots. Xenobots can reproduce,
and they look like their maker. They look like
they were created in the image of their maker.
Yes. What do you guys think about that? It just makes me go, a lot.
Well, these robots were created using the heart and skin as stem cells from an African clawed frog. And, now they've merged them with technology, and they can reproduce.
And there's mommy and daddy and baby, and there you go.
Yeah, they're there swimming in their little dish, little petri dish. And they find other single cells assemble baby Xenobots, and just a few days later, the babies become new Xenobots that move and look just like the initial creation.
That's a nice family photo there.
As above, so below, guys.
It is.
So, it gets me thinking Xenobots, Xenomorph, since we were talking about, Prometheus and
Mhm.
the alien tradition, and this is what ends up coming out from that big Anunnaki guy after he takes the black goo.
So charming.
Yeah, right. They're about 7 to 9 feet. They weigh 400 to 600 pounds. They got 2 sets of jaws. Their nasty little teeth open up, and then there's another set of teeth that comes sticking out, going, yeah.
Yep, they do.
Absolutely kind of crazy. And, again, it gets you thinking about the whole prophecy thing. We talked about 33rd degree Mason, Albert Pike, back in 1871, his letter to his buddy Mazzini, who actually is the gentleman that brought him into the Masonic Lodge in the first place, dated August 15th, 1871. Don't worry, Snopes has put this down. Yeah, we trust Snopes.
Mm-hmm.
We know whose payroll they're on. And just look at, the character of Snopes in the first place. Wow, pretty scary.
Well, I wouldn't trust them any further than I could throw this house.
Yes, exactly. Or throw a Titan.
Exactly.
So it talked all about the 3 world wars. And the First World War, it laid a critical foundation that led to the second. And then the second laid a critical foundation to lead to the third. And, why is this all out there? Because this is the same formula that they use time and time again. They're not very inventive in that sense. They use the same scripture all the time. And it's just par for the course. And then you have the Hopi prophecy, which, again, states World War III will be started by those peoples who first revealed the light, the divine wisdom or intelligence in the other old countries, like China, India, Islamic nations, Africa. And in the Hopi prophecy, the only safe zone that they foresaw was their own territory, Four Corners area, United States, being hit by, well, according to what they saw, NUKEs, the Galactics say they will not allow that anymore. And it was fascinating that I saw when we were talking about these hypersonic missiles, I saw an article that was talking about loading them up with chemicals. And that got me thinking right away, well, they know that they're not going to be able to use the big high yield stuff. And again, that gets me thinking about a certain coastal city, happens to be the capital of Lebanon, that we saw a very unusual blast that they say was just a whole bunch of stuff stored away, but I don't know. It really looked like there was something coming from the sky. But this war will be a spiritual conflict with material matters. Material matters will be destroyed by spiritual beings who will remain to create one world and one nation under the power of the Creator. Time is not far off. Actually, everything is pretty much fulfilled there, besides the crashing of something, a dwelling place in the heavens is how it's said. That would be the very final one. And then you got Nostradamus, and the thing that hits me the most is like his letter to his son, Caesar. He basically talks about the world will be in the grip of revolutions across the globe. There's revolutions going on across the globe, literal revolutions where people are saying bye-bye to the old and going to try something new. And when that is going on, that's when the big WAR starts and goes on. At the same time, you have the revolutions going on at the same time as WW #3. And I thought that was really interesting as well, that fact that it's concurrent. And we could really see that happening now, can we not? Look at some of the different countries around the world. And then we got the vision of George Washington that he supposedly saw at Valley Forge, in which, he saw the third big attack, the big destruction, big test trial come to the U.S. as basically, it sounds a lot like these type of weapons that we're talking about on both coasts coming from, ships. And it takes us by surprise, sort of, some of us. Interesting how all these prophecies, and these are very descriptive. You know, when we talk about the Bible prophecies, and we talk about like just how, you know, in that famous line in Matthew, it's also in Mark, about you will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. I think that will rise again. You could look at that as being again that. Are they talking about global revolution again, as well as the wars going on concurrently? And you know, it's interesting when you put them all together, and you just wonder, you know, is it glimpses of timelines, or is it sowing the seeds so that consciousness can help manifest a certain outcome?
Well, it just becomes so unfair because they have so much more knowledge and information than we do, and that's why we have to get used to stepping out of the box and exploring our consciousness and understanding how the world really works, so that we don't fall prey to, you know, the path that they lay before us, so we don't, you know, pick up those breadcrumbs that they have put down for us. We have to know better. We have to do better.
Well, yeah, and so we had some family members, and it's happened at different times, say, well, then if you're calling attention to it, are you helping to sow the seeds? But then by calling attention to the whole thing, the whole plan, and saying, you know, this again, this is all part of a script. How else can you raise consciousness unless you try to let everybody know, hey, we're actually living out a script that's been planned for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then if we get enough people to see that it's a script, then perhaps we could change the outcome.
And we can write our own.
Exactly, and that sounds good. And you know, that would be a much more desirable outcome than what we see
I think
being
we could have
built.
come up with better plans for sure.
Absolutely. So we want to thank you guys for your support on Ko-Fi, Patreon, also on Medicinal Foods. You know, there's a link at the top of every video, and it does help support the channel as well as give you a discount. Stay prepared out there as well. Keep shedding your light upon the situation. Keep sharing with others. If you're not subscribed, please do make sure you are subscribed, and you may be unsubscribed and think that you are subscribed.
Right.
And if anything happens, we are on Brighteon and also on Rumble right now. And we've tried to get up with Bitchute, but whatever we do, we can't seem to get it going. I don't know why. They have no answers.
Definitely check Brighteon and Rumble if we're not here.
Yes. As always, God bless and namaste.
Namaste.